Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our daily Bible study. We are reading out of the NIV Daily Bible. Every single day, we have a portion from the Old Testament, we have a portion from the New Testament, and we have a portion from either Psalms or Proverbs. This is not bouncing around in the Bible or reading random verses. Every single day, we pick up where we left off the day before. So, yesterday, we left off in Genesis. Today we're picking up where we left off in Genesis. Yesterday we left off in Matthew. Today we are picking up where we left off in Matthew. And then we have a reading from Proverbs today. And before we get started, I want to talk to you guys about confidence and obedience, because if you are struggling with insecurity, I want to encourage you guys to set a goal for yourself and set a smart goal. Don't set an unrealistic goal. Don't say I'm going to work out 7 days a week if you never work out. Start with I'm going to work out 3 days a week for 30 days, whatever it is. I encourage you guys to set a 30-day goal for yourself, especially if you struggle with confidence, because when you actually honor the commitments that you make to yourself, and when you honor those commitments, you become someone that you can trust. And when you become someone that you can trust, God can start trusting you too, but really a lot of confidence is earned. You know what I mean? You really earn your confidence by proving it to yourself that you can do the things that you say you're going to do and that you're going to commit to. For example, I have committed to this daily Bible study this year. It's 12:30. And so technically I'm late. Technically I'm on the wrong day, but I'm still going to do this Bible study even though it's 12:30 at night, because I told myself I was going to do the Bible study every single day this year, So I want to encourage you guys, if you're struggling with insecurity, to set a small 30-day goal for yourself and stick to that commitment. And when you keep doing that, you will build up a lot of confidence, and you will just build up a lot of endurance. And I think your life will improve if you can really trust yourself. And then I think God likes to test people. We're reading through Abraham where God tested Abraham to see if he would really surrender his son Isaac, So God likes to test us to see if he can trust us with some of these big things that he has, So anyway, prove to yourself that you're trustworthy. Prove to God that you're trustworthy. And I think you'll feel better all the way around. Anyway, let's get into our Old Testament portion for today. We are doing Genesis chapter 25, verse 1 through chapter 26, verse 35, the death of Abraham. So Abraham took another wife. This was after his first wife died, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimram, Jokshan, Medah, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letushites, and the Lemuites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Ephra, Hanok, Abidah, Eldah. All these were the descendants of Keturah. Again, you guys, the names are hard, but don't skip over them, because the more you read the names, the more comfortable you get with them. And then you'll start to realize that these are not just random names. The Bible is literally a book of stories of these names. So don't skip the names, even if they're complicated, even if you mispronounce them. The more you read them, the better you're going to get at reading them, the better you're going to get at pronouncing them. If you don't practice, you're never going to improve. Okay, so I might butcher these names, but I'm still going to read them. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Altogether, Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer Le Roy. I think Abraham was very wise, and I think that Abraham learned a lot from the whole situation with Hagar and Ishmael, because he had them other sons and he sent them away. He said, been there, done this. Isaac is my promised son. And I think he was very wise in sending the other sons away. And he did not send them away empty-handed, right? I'm sure he gave them good gifts because Abraham was loaded. He had so many camels and he had so many animals. Think about it right now in today's day and age, like how much it would cost to go and buy a cow. Like, could you afford to go and buy a cow? And I think he had like hundreds of cows and camels and livestock and flocks and stuff like that. So he didn't send his other sons away empty-handed, but it was very wise for him to send the other sons away because he did not want them to be jealous of Isaac. Like, I'm sure that he learned, right? Like, it doesn't say that, but I think we can take the context clues from what happened with Hagar and Ishmael, and we can apply that and think, okay, he learned from that experience, and he did not want the other sons to be there fighting with Isaac over his inheritance, because at the end of the day, Isaac was his promised child. Isaac was the promise, you know? Ishmael's sons. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael listed in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Abdel, Mibsam, Misha, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Nephish, and Kedma. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. So just like there are 12 tribes of Israel, there are the 12 tribes that came from Ishmael, because God told Abraham that not only Isaac will be blessed, Ishmael will also be blessed. Isaac is the promised son, and he's going to get the land flowing with milk and honey or whatever. But he said, don't worry, I'm still going to bless Ishmael. So there are 12 tribes of Israel. There are also the 12 tribes of Ishmael. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, as you go towards Ashur, and they lived in hostility toward all of their brothers. So they were constantly fighting. The Middle East has been at war for a long time. Jacob and Esau. This is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. Now remember, we just read about Rebekah and where she came from, how Abraham had sent his servant to go and get Isaac a wife. So the servant went, and as he was praying, Rebekah came. He asked God for confirmation, and while he was praying, he received the confirmation, and he found Rebekah, right? So Rebekah was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. Interesting. I think a lot of us forget to inquire of the Lord. Y'all, we need to get back to the basics. Get back to the basics. Inquire of the Lord. I think we're all like going through struggles in our lives, and we find ourselves going through these things, and we are like complaining to our friends and inquiring of our friends. And go back to the basics. Inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, and I say this because I'm constantly talking to people, and they're constantly going through issues, and then I'm like, "Oh, did you talk to God about it?" And they're like, "No, I didn't," and it's like, let's get back in that habit. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys. So this is another thing to highlight, is that God told her this before she ever had the kids. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, Rebekah played favorites." Well, God came to her while she was pregnant and told her that the older would serve the younger. So that's kind of why she did some of the things that she did. When the time came for her to give birth, there were 2 twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter and a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Obviously, Rebekah loved Jacob. I think, one, as a mother, she probably had a soft spot for her son who seemed a little bit weaker. And two, the Lord already told her that the younger brother was going to be like the one to be served. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." And that is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. How dramatic. He probably was not about to die. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Isn't it interesting that Esau despised his birthright, but he's the one who gave it up? It's like, how are you going to despise your birthright when you're the one who gave it up? And really quickly before I want to go on, my friend brought this up to me one time, and it's something that I reflect on often. And she says, oftentimes she'll ask herself, is this stew? You know, and it's just like a way to reflect, like, am I trading in a blessing for stew? Like, and it's a way to reflect if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're starving, where you feel like you're desperate, and then you're doing something out of desperation. It's like, are you trading your dignity for some stew? And so, like, she'll always just like use this little example, like, oh, I feel like this is my stew, right? She's like, I feel like I'm desperate for this, and I'm actually trading my birthright for something that's just not worth it, you know? So don't trade your birthright for stew. Like, be able to reflect and see if you're desperate right now. You know, don't trade something good for something crappy just because you're desperate. So Isaac and Abimelech. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the earlier famine of Abraham's time, and Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all of these lands, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. And as a reminder, playing off of what we were talking about yesterday, we're getting in position and we're staying in position. So if you want to receive the promise from God, get in position to receive it. I don't know what that looks like for you. And if you're confused on what that looks like for you, guess what? Pray and talk to God about it, and he'll bring you clarity. But you need to get in position. And if you're already in position, you need to stay in position. Do not allow the fear of a famine, do not allow the fear of a drought to take you out of position. You need to stay in position. Like, he's telling him, look, I know it looks like there's going to be a drought. I know it looks like there's going to be a famine, but you need to stay here. And it's like, it's almost like when you're going through like a divorce or something. It's like, what is the saying? It's like occupation is 9/10 of the law, right? They say, like, don't leave your house, because the second you leave your house, you're surrendering it. It's like the same thing here, where he's saying, like, stay here, stay where I put you. Do not allow fear to cause you to move. Do not allow fear to take you out of your position. So moving forward, so Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the man of that place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid to say, "She is my wife." He thought, the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. You guys, this is the same thing his father Abraham did with his wife Rachel. This is the same exact thing that his father Abraham did with his wife Rachel. When he went, he said, "Oh, tell them you're my sister." So it's like Isaac probably saw that, and this is some learned behavior. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Then Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech gave orders to all the people, "Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold, because the Lord had blessed him. There was a famine in the land, but because he stayed in position and because God blessed him, he reaped 100-fold. I don't know about you, but I'm believing in God for 100-fold harvest. I am believing in God for 100-fold harvest, and I know he's going to do it. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with the earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us." Isn't this interesting that when you will outgrow people, you might get so successful, and that people will start to try to sabotage you just because you've become so successful. This is also something to be super aware of. There might be times in life where you just simply outgrow a place. And you're going to be confused because you're not going to understand why people are trying to sabotage you. And it's just simply because they're envious of you because you've outgrown them. And guess what? If you find yourself in a situation like this, move on. So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and he gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen and said, "The water is ours." So he named the well Essek because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sidnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. He named it Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land." Note, he didn't stop digging wells. He didn't stop and say, "Oh, every time I dig a well, someone comes and fights me, so I'm just going to stop." No, he kept on digging wells. He kept on going until he found a place that no one was going to fight with him. From there, he went up to Beersheba. That night, the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you, and I will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Meanwhile, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, his personal advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them, "Why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me and sent me away?" They answered, "We saw clearly that the Lord was with you, so we said there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you that you will do us no harm, just as we did not molest you, but always treated you well and sent you away in peace. And now you are blessed by the Lord." Isaac then made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they left him in peace. That day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, "We have found water." He called it Sheba, and to this day, the name of the town has been known, Beersheba. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. So now we're like switching stories, okay? We were reading all about Isaac and Abimelech and Rebekah. So now we've kind of switched stories to Esau, and we'll pick back up with Esau and his wives later. But they were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah because they were Hittites, because you're supposed to marry people who are equally yoked as you. And one of the biggest things in the Bible and in the Old Testament is God is constantly telling his people, do not marry these foreign women, because here's the thing, your wife and who you decide to marry has a very big influence on you. And God understood that. It goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, where Eve had a very big influence on Adam. So who you decide to marry has such a very big influence on you. And that's why it's important to be equally yoked. And God is constantly telling his people, do not marry these foreign women, because he knows that if you marry somebody who worships this other god, because the people of that time, they weren't just like innocently worshiping other gods. Like their practices were inhumane and cruel and vile and detestable to the Lord. They were literally burning their children alive on the altars. And God did not want them participating in worshiping of Baal and the Asherah poles. Okay, so that's why Esau's wife, because they were Hittites, essentially. That's why they were a source of grief. Anyway, moving on to our New Testament reading for today, we are reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 1 through 31. So Jesus sends out the 12. He called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority, gave them authority to drive out evil spirits and heal every disease and sickness. Gave them authority. Oh, hi, Sydney. Gave them authority to drive out evil spirits and to heal every disease and sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector, James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, preach this message. The kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely you give. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. That's what he told them to do. These are not dead practices, y'all. Do not take along any gold or silver or copper in your belts. Take no bag for the journey or extra tunic or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worth his keep. I love to highlight this because people only, in this day and age, I feel like people only value like physical labor or corporate labor, but spiritual work is still work. Like everybody has this idea that if you work for the kingdom, you're supposed to live off air. Like, no, the worker is worth his wages. Sometimes it says wages, sometimes it says heap, but even within yourself, like you should value your spiritual disciplines, value your kingdom work, like value it in other people, but also value it in yourself. Whatever town or village you enter, search for some worthy person there and stay at his house until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. I'm going to reread that. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. You guys, if you enter into a relationship with someone and your peace cannot settle there, take your peace back and leave. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet when you leave that home or town. I tell you the truth, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. As shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. I love this because he says, if people don't want to hear what you have to say, kick the dust off your feet and move on. We read a couple of days ago, do not throw your pearls to swine. Listen, if people don't want to hear what you have to say, kick the dust off your feet and move on. Do not find yourself in these circular arguments with people. Give someone 15, 20 minutes, but if someone is hell-bent on not hearing you, not understanding you, not believing you, don't waste your time. Don't get caught up in these arguments. Do not get caught up in these arguments. And then also we have here shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Shrewd, having or showing sharp powers of judgment. She was shrewd enough to guess the motive behind his gesture. Okay, so having good discernment and judgment. Do not be naive. Do not be naive. A lot of people have this idea as a Christian that they're just supposed to blindly trust everybody because, I see the good in people. That's not Christianity. Christianity is not being naive and lacking discernment. Even Jesus says to be as shrewd as snakes. He is sending you out and he's entrusting you with the gospel. You need to have good judgment. You need to have good judgment. Stop being naive. Stop getting taken advantage of. Stop allowing yourself to be deceived in the name of Jesus. He does not want you to be a fool. He does not want you to just believe everybody and take them at their word. He wants you to use sound judgment. He wants you to use sound judgment. And that doesn't mean to be judgmental, but it means to kind of know people by their fruit, Don't be naive. You can give people a second chance, but God, in the process of giving them a second chance, don't give them a key to your house. You can forgive someone and have grace and have mercy without giving them all access to you and giving them the PIN to your debit card, we need to have discernment. We need to be a little bit shrewd, you guys. Stop being naive in the name of Jesus. Be on your guard against men. They will hand you over to the local councils and flog you in their synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. I lost my highlighter. We're going to highlight that. Do not worry about what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. What to say or how to say it. At that time, you'll be given what to say. This is one of the things we pray for all the time is, God, give me the words of what to say and how to say it. So if you're one of the people that tunes in with us daily, you know that we have a little spiritual toolbox. And I want you guys to add this verse to your spiritual toolbox. Write it down. This is something I want you guys praying all the time. Anytime you're anxious about a conversation, an interview, maybe you're going to court, maybe you're meeting with a lawyer or a new boss, or maybe you have, a work review coming up. I want you to pray against fear, pray against anxiety. God, I rebuke the spirit of worry in the name of Jesus. God, I'm asking you to give me the words of what to say and how to say it. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. You guys, that in and of itself tells you that this walk is not going to be easy. That in and of itself tells you that you're going to have to stand firm. A lot of people give you this fever dream of what it looks like to follow Jesus. I promise you there's going to be times in this walk with the Lord where you are going to have to stand firm, and you got to stand firm and make it till the end. That in and of itself tells you it's not going to be easy. You've got to make it till the end. A student is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the students to be like his teacher and the servant like his master. If the head of the house has been called Beelzebub, how much more the members of his household? So do not be afraid of them. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. We talked a lot about this yesterday. Don't be afraid to share your testimony. Don't be afraid to shout from the rooftops. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Even the hairs of your head are all numbered. So do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. I'm going to repeat that. Do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to proclaim the gospel. Do not be afraid to share your testimony about what God has done for you, what God has done in your life, what God has done in you and through you. So that's all for our New Testament reading for today. And moving on to our reading from Proverbs, we are in Proverbs 1, verses 20 through 33, a warning against rejecting wisdom. Wisdom calls aloud in the street. She raises her voice in the public squares. At the head of the noisy streets, she cries out. In the gateways of the city, she makes her speech. How long will you simple ones love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? If you had responded to my rebuke, I would have poured out my heart to you and made my thoughts known to you. But since you rejected me when I called and no one gave heed when I stretched out my hand, since you ignored all my advice and would not accept my rebuke, I in turn will laugh at your disaster. I will mock when calamity overtakes you. When calamity overtakes you like a storm, and when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when distress and trouble overwhelm you, then they will call out to me, but I will not answer. They will look for me, but I will not find me. Since they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord, since they would not accept my advice and spurned my rebuke, they will eat the fruit of their ways and be filled with the fruit of their schemes. For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear and harm. Whoever listens to me will be in safety and be at ease and without fear of harm. Just know that when you meditate on the Lord's word, when you are walking with the God, you guys, you don't have to be afraid when you are walking with the Lord. You do not have to be afraid when you are walking uprightly. You will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm when you are walking with the Lord. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's a lot later than we normally do, but again, you guys, I encourage you to honor your commitments. Honor the commitments you've made to yourself and honor the commitments that you've made to God, And the person you become at the other end of that, the person that you become at the other end of obedience, at the other end of honoring your commitments and doing hard things and being a person of your word is unstoppable. When you build up that confidence and that trust in yourself, and when you build up that confidence that God can trust you, it's like an unexplainable feeling. You will literally grow to the next level in your life when you do that. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry for being late, but late is better than never. And we're not shooting for perfection. We're shooting for progress. So anyway, thank you. If you guys have the goal of reading through the Bible in 1 year, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's just prayer_warrior Bible study. We are doing the live Bible study every day. This is our 3rd year reading through the Bible together. So this will be uploaded on our YouTube channel here in about an hour. It's usually how long it takes for TikTok to process the video, save, and upload it. So if that is your goal, to read the Bible, subscribe to our YouTube. Have a good day, guys, or have a good night. Yes, God, if you are feeling anxiety and fear, get in your word, put on worship music, pray. Your spiritual disciplines are the number one thing that you have to combat anxiety and fear. You have a spiritual toolbox that you can use to combat anxiety and fear, and that is the word of God, that is praise, that is praying, and that is worship.